Hey friends, welcome to this presentation here on the geological Saam Chautauqua. Today, I'm delighted to introduce to you David Toon. David never knows when to leave well enough alone. He's an acupuncturist, he's an herbalist, he makes his own bespoke extracts. David studied in Japan where he worked closely with the late Dr. Bear. Also brought him here to the States as well, where I had the good fortune to study with him as well. David teaches with the Institute of Classics and East Asian Medicine, which means he's a Shanghan Lun geek. And when he's not busy with everything else, he noodles on the stems and branches. He also can handle a sailboat on the San Francisco Bay in a pretty heavy breeze, so that's no small matter either. David and I have been talking about the curious potency of the Saam organ pairings for quite a while now. And today, he's going to share his perspective on the viewpoint from the stems and the branches and how it relates to these organ pairings. I am delighted to have him with us. David, welcome.
Hey, Michael, thanks. It's really great to be here and really looking forward to working through some material that has, been clinically really relevant for me, but also has really just kind of befuddled me and really enjoying getting, sharing this information. So excellent. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to, could we go ahead and move to the slide presentation, Michael? Excellent. All right. So I was talking to Michael about, Saam, and I actually got interested in it because as Michael was starting to study, because I was working in more of the Nanjing system, and I was having some clinical failures, and so I was using the herbal system with this for the six conformations, and I started to see there was an acupuncture, there was an acupuncture application for that. And that's how Michael and I started to get involved with that. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you about where I see some sitting in the broader Chinese medicine cosmology, basically. So yeah, so first of all, give you a little bit back about my orientation. I started training under Dr. Bear, Iwashina Sensei, in a classical Japanese method while I was still in school. And his focus was first mostly on the Nanjing and then on the Neijing. The primary method that he was using at the time and that he taught me was, rather than say using chapter 69, Nanjing chapter 69, which is typical of the Japanese acupuncture, he was using what's known in the Nanjing as the husband-wife relationship. And we'll get into that and how that fits into the cosmology. Two things. His focus was primarily non-invasive acupuncture, and that is the majority of my clinical work. And the other piece is as a Japanese system, it's very heavily palpatory based. And so there are two pieces I think interesting in working with, some of the Saam organ pairs from a non-invasive standpoint, but also from a palpatory standpoint. And so by palpating the points before you select and treat them, it gives you an indication of what points are going to or should be theoretically effective for that patient. And so we'll get into that a little bit more. And then the other piece also I think that's important is towards the end of Dr. Bear's, my teacher's, teaching, towards the end of his life, he was very focused on treat the location of the disease. If you can treat where the location of the disease is, you can treat very quickly and effectively. And so his focus was on, is it in the channels, in the luol, in the muscle, skin, or in the channels or the organs, that sort of got me thinking in terms of the treatment. The location of the treatment is really, really important. Just a little bit about the herbal training. Is I was introduced to classical method. I started to follow and get into the works of Haishani, and he passed away before I was able to really study with him. I'd say in depth. But that led me to then studying the Tian and the Zheng lineage, and so I've been working through that system for a number of years now. So a little bit about my background. So today, what I want people to really look at and to understand is how the Saam organ pairs relate to the broader Chinese medicine cosmology, and how the Saam system can be very effective in helping us understand the location of the disease. Okay, so first of all, this is, I think everyone will recognize this just absolutely instantly, as this is how Saam treats, basically. If you want to affect the urinary bladder, you treat the heart. If you want to treat the small intestine, or you want to treat you treat the kidney, and so on and so forth. What I want to do is flesh out a little bit about the broader cosmology in terms of the heavenly stems, the earthly branches on the other side, and then with the six conformations in the middle, and really kind of show where the Saam relationships are. So first of all, the Saam organ pairs really is classically rooted in Su Wen 74. It's a very long chapter, and so I want to show a little bit about that. So the Chinese medicine cosmology really we're dealing with three major pieces. We're dealing with the heavenly stems, and then the earthly branches, and then the six qi in the middle, basically. And notice that what's in the heaven is the stem, and then what's on the earth is the branch, basically. Okay. So in the broader cosmology, you have 10 stems and you have 12 branches. And so those kind of work like a wheel that operates in 60 years, and then culminates actually in everything coming down and cycling every single hour. So for instance, and every single day. So for instance, like in the classical Chinese calendar, today would be August, in our calendar is August 10th, but we would be in the fourth qi of the year, and this would be Bing, and which is the heavenly stem, and this today would be Wu, the earthly branch day. So it's the Bing and Wu would then pivot and then come together, and that will indicate the nature of today. All right, so this is some models that I have put together, and this is the heavenly stems and the six conformations, and then the earthly branches. And you'll notice that in the Saam that you have, that's definitely in the middle piece. So a little bit about these models. There's a 16th century commentator that named Zhang Shixian, and he put together essentially a visual representation for every chapter in the Nanjing. And so what I essentially started to do as I was studying with Dr. Bear is I attempted to put what I was learning with him in a visual pictorial representation. And so that's what started with the heavenly stems model. And that's the one that I have clinically used the most. So looking in terms of the heavenly stems, the six conformations, and then the earthly branches, basically you'll notice there's different configurations of these systems. So the heavenly stems comes before the six conformations, is like the environmental chi, and the earthly branches is what happens on the earth afterwards. Okay, good. So one of the things I want to introduce today is this idea of the great movements, and that is an idea of there's the yearly progression of, and we all know that as the five phases. The, wood then moves to fire, moves to earth, moves to metal, moves to water, then moves back to wood. However, it doesn't, I just looked at the chat really quickly. It doesn't describe how and why what wood generate or moves or generates into fire, generates into earth, metal, water, and wood. And so in order to do that, you actually have to start to get into the heavenly stems. And so the relationship with heavenly stems it looks at what's known as the hard and the soft relationship, sometimes called the husband-wife relationship. And it explains why there's this dynamic tension basically between the two. So essentially in chapter 33, it talks about how the husband, which is wood. So first of all, is you look at on the inside of this model, those are all the yang stems. And then you have on the outside, you have all the yin stems. So the inside here is the jaw, which is yang wood, basically releases or lets the yin wood, which is gallbladder, releases the liver, and marries it to yang metal, basically. And so what you have is you have this kind of pentagram situation where you have the first stem, which is Ja, which then moves in yin wood. First of all, this is not Nanjing, not this. Yeah, to answer that question, this is the Nanjing, not the Neijing we're talking about. That's a good question.